This is something that most people don't want to talk about, but you know what? I'm never scared. So I think we're going to talk about this. You ready? Let's go. My name is 𝘃𝗶𝗱𝗲𝐶ie, and I am your favorite empowerment coach. And today I want to talk to you about something that is very rarely talked about publicly. And that is, dun, 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 the toxic coworker. What? Are you going there, Stephanie? I'm going there. I'm going. You know, and I think it's important that we talk about the toxic coworkers. And what I mean by that are the individuals that don't want to do their job, because I kind of spoke to those people in the video about setting boundaries at work. And I said, this is not about the slackers and those type of people. But you know what? I think we need to talk about them because they matter. They're the people that can bring down morale, because unbeknownst to you, owner, leader, your team knows exactly. It's kind of like, you know, again, I was a college professor. It's kind of like on the group project where there's one student that is not doing their work. Everybody knows it. They may not tell the instructor, which is why in my syllabus, I had a clause about that. I had a clause that you could literally vote your team members off the island, because when I was in grad school the first time, but when I was in grad school the first time, we don't want any distractions, right? So, and we don't do edits. So, okay, I had to turn my phone off. Okay, great. So when I was in grad school the first time, we had group projects. And so if someone didn't perform in the group, we were just told to cover them. And I thought, you know, as a professor, I thought that was really unfair, because what that actually meant was we did the work for that individual and they would still get the grade, because the professor was unaware or didn't care that this person didn't hold up their end of the bargain. So what I decided to do was evoke a survivor clause, which basically said, if you guys are doing all of this work and you can substantiate that this person didn't do any of that work, they can be voted off your island, and then they will have a chance to do the assignment themselves, but they will not have a chance to share in the grade of those who did the work. I know, right? Survivor clause. But why the toxic coworkers matter is because they have more influence over the team than many people would like to confess or recognize, because everybody knows who they are. And the challenge with toxic coworkers, negative coworkers, underperforming coworkers is that if they go without any type of consequence, it now makes those behaviors okay. And so what that does is that it diminishes the value of the work being done by the coworker that's going above and beyond and tying the bows on everything and crossing the T's and dotting the I's. It diminishes their sense of worth in the work that's being done. I remember the first time I got a 2 on my evaluation. Now there's 1, 2, 3, and 4. I think, no, 1, 2, 3. I think it's 1, 2, 3. And 2, what I understood a 2 to be was what everyone got. Because if you got a 1, if you received a 1, if you got a 1 and they gave a raise, you wouldn't get a raise. So 2 was really the bare minimum that managers were giving, that chairs were giving in the college that I worked for. And I got a 2. And I'm like, wait a minute, are you telling me that I'm getting the same rating as this person and this person and this person? Because again, that's bare minimum. But I, at the time, well, I always have, but I was going above and beyond. I was teaching my students entrepreneurship, business, and meditation. I was teaching them how to manage life as an owner, practically, pragmatically, spiritually, and energetically. I was going above and beyond. I think I was the only professor, and maybe the only professor, who was giving grades for self-care. I used to start one of my classes with self-care, either tapping. They would learn EFT, which tapping is a technique where you can control anxiety a lot of times. They would learn tapping. They would learn guided meditation. They would learn breath work, because these are the things that I thought were important to them as students and as individuals that are in the workforce. So what you're telling me in giving me the 2 is that I'm not doing much. I'm doing the bare minimum. I'm not doing the bare minimum. Again, we all know who the toxic coworkers are. We all know who the negative coworkers are. We all know who the underperforming coworkers are. And so for me to be placed on a level with them, I didn't feel good about that. And your team members won't feel good about it either, which is why the toxic coworker, the negative coworker, the underperforming coworker has to be dealt with. You cannot just turn a blind eye and say, oh, they're going to go away. No, they're not. Oh, they're probably going to quit. They probably won't. They're very comfortable. They're very entitled and they're very comfortable. And as long as you're not bothering them, guess what? They're not going to bother you with a resignation letter. Period. They have found a home and they have dug in. So what do? I think conversations are in order. And ultimately, I think they're in order with your team. And I know you're probably saying, oh my God, I'm going to turn my team into a bunch of snitches. No, you're not. Because maybe the question is not, who's the person not doing the work? Well, you all know the answer to that. Maybe the better question is, how do you feel about being on a team with some people or person who is underperforming or who is negative and toxic? Take that information in and then allow that to guide how you deal with this person. Now, I don't think I have to say this, but I'm going to say it. Once you gather that information and you realize the effect this may or may not be having on your morale, what you don't do is relay that to the toxic coworker, the negative coworker, or the underperforming coworker. You don't do that. Hey, you know what? I've been talking to your coworkers and they all say blah, 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 blah. No. And I think I needed to say that because some of you are brand spanking new managers and you might actually try to triangulate yourself, your team, and your underperforming negative or toxic coworker or team member. Don't do that. Remember, we're trying to create mindful workforce and mindful workspace. We can't do that if one person believes that everybody is against them. I think it's more fruitful to have conversations about how they feel they are performing and why. It might be a surprise to you to know that this person may have become toxic, negative, or underperforming because situations occurred before you even got there as the owner or the leader, or before you hired them as the owner, if you're a smaller company. HR may have hired them if you're a larger company. We get that. But before you came on board, this person may have had a history. And maybe at one point they were the person that did go above and beyond. And they stopped going above and beyond. See, there's an opportunity here not to clown and not to dog out the coworker or the team member. There's an opportunity here to bring synergy and cohesion back into the team dynamic. I love it when owners and leaders do powerful things. I really, really do. So I want to encourage you just to do one thing. Don't let that toxic, negative, or underperforming coworker or team member just skate along. Don't let that go on. Don't let that continue. Take some of the steps, and maybe the steps in this video will help, but if not, there are tons of videos. Do your research, do your homework, but recognize that this is an opportunity to bring people together and not to tear the team apart. They're already being a wee bit torn apart by what's happening because of this person or this team member or these people or these team members. There's already a little bitty piece of bad morale. That's just a little seed of bad morale, right? Low morale, rather. So let's not water that with a water bucket of contention and triangulation. Let's take the time to see if we can make this a repotting situation. Guys, I don't plant, but let's see if we can repot this thing and help it to grow and flourish. It's an opportunity. It is an opportunity. So I think that's all I have to say about that. I'll probably be dropping some resources down in the comments. Of course, this is something that you think that your team could benefit from. By all means, look in the comments and get on my calendar. But until then, my name is Stephanie D. McKenzie, and I am speaker, teacher, author, and coach, and former professor. I think you know that by now. Here to remind you to always be your own superhero and to thank you so much for loving, learning, and making your team better with me. See you on the next video.